Example 1. Sheet Data Validation 1. In this example, many brand managers were requested to put their data into one table. The table uses the VLOOKUP function, which only works if the names of the projects are entered in exactly the same way as the source table, where the data is taken from. When many people are involved in the same project, there are always those who are creative or less experienced, and even after a thorough explanation, we can't guarantee that all the names of the projects will be entered properly. In this example, 2 names have been entered correctly and 4 contain errors. Project 2 doesn't have a space between the word and the number. Project 3 has an additional space after the number 3. Project 8 has an incorrect sequence of letters, and Project 10 has a double space. Data validity will be used to ensure that the search function works correctly. Before starting to validate the data, we need to select an appropriate range. In our case, it's cells B6 to B11. Then select Data and Data Validation from the menu. In the Data Validation window under the Settings tab, select List, which allows you to specify a list of data to enter into the previously selected cells. Next, select the range where the values will be entered and press OK. Now when we enter a cell with data validation enabled, a list of data that can be entered will be displayed. The person filling in the table needs to select a project name from the list. It's also possible to enter the name of the project in the cell using the keyboard, and if the entry matches one from the list, the entered text will be accepted. If you enter a name that does not appear on the list, you'll see a message saying this value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. We can personalize the error message in the Data Validation window under the Error Alert tab. You can also enter an input message that will be displayed after entering data into a data validated cell. The input message is also entered in the Data Validation window under the Input Message tab. I advise against using this feature since a file like this might have to be used a lot, and the message could become very irritating for the users. If we want to inform the users about something, it's best to only display a message like this once, when the file is opened. You can learn how to create a welcome message like this in my VBA course. Example 2. Sheet Data Validation 2. Let's practice data validation on another real-life example. An employee sends files to over 100 suppliers asking them to input delivery dates. But despite telling the suppliers how it should be done, they have still managed to enter the dates in 100 different ways. Introducing data validation has sorted the data out once and for all. Example 3. Sheet Data Validation 3. The quality of the data doesn't just directly apply to the cell containing the data, but also to any cell which is impacted by the data. In this example, when planning the production of new chairs, we need to be sure that the sum of the material costs is below £100. We enter the costs into the yellow fields, then select them and go to Data Validation. The sum in cell F8 needs to be less than 100, so under the Error Alert tab, we'll create a message for the users. To test the message, we'll enter the value of 66 for wood, resulting in the sum exceeding 100, therefore the message is displayed and the data isn't accepted. If we lower the other costs, the value 66 can now be entered into cell F5. Unfortunately, the data validation can be easily fooled. If we select more than one cell and enter the values using Ctrl and Enter, the value is still accepted. Not many people know about this trick though, and you probably don't need to worry about the users of your files being so sly. Also, more advanced calculations can be entered into the data validation. Below, in addition to the costs, the labour cost calculated as the cost overhead was also included. The margin and distribution cost calculated depending on the sum of costs were added. Entering data that results in a price being too high is blocked. I hope you have learnt something new thanks to the work we have put in to make this video. Please now do us a huge favour and recommend this course to your friends so they too can learn how to use Excel properly.